So now let's talk about the building blocks of any personal statement or any article in general. So first, when it comes to words, you wrote everything, but make sure you mention, like, you replace words from, or like you use words from the CaRMS roles, right? Collaborator, advocate, leader, scholar, to show the programs that you know what, that, or to show them that you have the skills that they are looking for. And then after like reading the personal statement and looking at the words, look at the sentences. Do these sentences make sense? Is there like nice flow between the sentences? Does each paragraph have one idea? So your goal is to have one idea per paragraph, and that bring me to the next point, is paragraph. So the sentences should work together and to make a paragraph, but this paragraph usually have one or two ideas. If you have two ideas in a paragraph, if you are talking about volunteering and if you're talking about leadership, maybe you have to break that down to two paragraphs. And again, you might volunteer as a leader, so it really depends on the context. Okay, but usually it's an experience per paragraph. And then after making sure you have the right words and the sentences and the paragraphs, and you use the tools that I told you about, read it again. Make sure the flow of ideas makes sense. If you start the introduction from experience from back in medical school or before medical school, and then in the second paragraph you talked about something in medical school, and then in the third paragraph you went back to high school, that really doesn't make, the flow, it's hard. And let me give you an example. If I'm going to tell you the story of the Beauty and the Beast, and I start the story, they lived together happily ever after, and then I told you the Beauty used to live with her father, and then or lived with her father, and then I told you the Beauty one day left home to go and pick up food. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why I'm going to tell you about the end of the last part of the story in the beginning, right? There should be a chronological order. First, I have to tell you where the Beauty used to live with her father, blah, 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 and then I have to explain to you about the Beast, and then I'm going to tell you about how did they meet, and then I'm going to tell you how did they end up living together, right? It's the same when it comes to personal statement. Like, you have to tell a story, and we humans love hearing the stories. So make sure the flow of idea makes sense. And then finally, put yourself in their shoes. This is really important. Ask yourself, and ask, so for example, if you're an international medical graduate, and you have a friend in residency and you need help, or if you need help, we are more than happy to help you. But reach out to people, ask them to read your personal statement, because you want to make sure that it makes sense from the Canadian context. The experiences, the stories make sense from a Canadian context, or for someone who's living in Canada. Okay, put yourself in your shoes. So it's a building block: words, sentences, paragraphs. The flow of idea makes sense, and then put yourself in your shoes. If you don't know the size of their shoes, it's okay. Go and ask other person to read your personal statement and give you feedback.